It's not easy presenting a proposed building project during a pandemic. At a redevelopment board hearing this week, hotel developers hoping to build along Mass Ave were told to come back in July with more details. Arlington's town manager gives us an update on how the town cautiously reopens as the summer season gets underway. Mailing in your ballot for the June 6 town election, we have some timely tips, locations, and 3 particular boxes you'll want to know about. Generous volunteers making masks and very likely saving lives using their creative skills. We have a report tonight. It's just a click away. A Gimme Shelter Coffeehouse benefit raising money for Food Link of Arlington and several musicians whose gigs have been canceled because of this pandemic. And a bold statement of hope at one Arlington service station. You can stop for gas, get your oil checked, and thank an essential worker, the station's owner, who's encouraging all of us to stay strong. There are currently 282 positive cases of COVID-19 in Arlington, 36 deaths. All this as Arlington is together, apart.
From McLennan Park to Spy Pond, from Poets Corner to the Mystic River, we have Arlington covered. We're your neighbors, a friend you can turn to. This is ACMi News.
Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of ACMi News. I'm Jeff Barnes. As ACMi News does each and every week, we're in touch with Arlington's town manager, Adam Chapter, who gives us an update on how town leaders are monitoring this pandemic. This after Governor Charlie Baker unveils plans to slowly and ever so cautiously reopen Massachusetts for business. We have 275 confirmed or plus confirmed positive cases of coronavirus in Arlington. 36 deaths as of this recording. It seems as though the curve is being flattened, but in reality, we have a heck of a way to go.
Yeah, I think that's right. Definitely the rate of growth has slowed, although there still has been some growth in younger populations in the younger population of people being tested positive. So yeah, I mean, that is good news. But if you read the Globe this morning or last night or this morning, basically every expert interviewed is saying, what the governor is doing is smart and thoughtful and is, being done appropriately, but it's almost a sure thing that there will be another outbreak or a rise in cases as we start to interact with people again. So I think you're right. There's a long road ahead of us, and I think there's going to be a lot of caution. A lot of things are going to be different than they were before this all started. So there is good news. I mean, I don't want to be all down about it, but the reality is we have a long road ahead of us. Well,
the governor just released his stay at home basically became safer at home. So as of now, we have maybe construction in certain places of worship opened as of now with restrictions, but then we also have I guess on the 25th we're going to have barbershops, salons, retail with restrictions. How is that going to work in Arlington?
So really, we're going to spend this whole week, our health staff is going to spend this whole week going through all of those restrictions, all of those requirements, working with the establishments that would like to open on the 25th, and making sure it can be done safely. I think the easy one is curbside retail. Mm-hmm. We've been doing curbside takeout now for the past 8 weeks. I think that's very low risk, bringing people into a confined indoor space. So I think that one is going to be fairly easy. I mean, we'll still obviously want people to meet up with with the guidelines and requirements of the state. Personal care services, I think that one is very challenging. I think the restrictions that the state has put in place are appropriate, but very strict. So I really, over the course of this week, expect to learn more about whether or not the barbershops and salons in Arlington will have the will and ability to meet up with those requirements and restrictions. Because they're very serious. I mean, the types of partitions and physical separation and disinfection that are going to be required or are required are pretty serious. So we're going to continue to work through it. I mean, we want businesses to survive, so we want to be cooperative, but we also want to be cautious and not invite more trouble for ourselves.
You could see my interview with Adam Chapter in its entirety on our Facebook page, ACMi News Facebook page, or you can go to acmi.tv. This pandemic has caused havoc when it comes to this year's 2020 town election. But we've certainly had plenty of time to get to know the candidates. Now, ACMi has published links to interviews with most of the candidates, and we've also posted virtual debates among candidates. If you'd like to see the interviews, all you have to do is go to acmi.tv. If you'd like to see those debates, go to acmi.tv/elections. Meantime, are you going to be voting in this year's town election? Will you be voting at the polls, or will you be voting by mail using those postcards? Do you still have questions? We have you covered. The 2020 town election is fast approaching, and with this pandemic, clearly major changes are in the works. Polls will still be open utilizing new safety protocols. However, it's encouraged you take advantage of early voting by mail to reduce the spread of COVID-19. You may have already received your ballot request form if you wish to vote by mail. Once you fill it out and send it back to the provided address, you will receive your mail-in ballot. And once your ballot has been received, fill that out and either mail it back to the provided address or drop it off at one of 3 drop boxes that will appear on Thursday, May 21st in Arlington with an official ballot drop box sign on top. Those boxes can be found at Mass Ave and Lake Street in East Arlington, Town Hall at the front steps at Arlington Center, and at Park and Mass Ave in the Heights near the clock. Absentee ballots are still available, but you must request one very soon to ensure time to receive and then turn in your ballot. Absentee ballots can also be dropped off at those 3 boxes previously mentioned. Voter registration for the town election has been extended to May 27th. Now, if you have any questions or concerns whatsoever, just go to the Arlington Town webpage at arlingtonma.gov. And again, the town election will be held on June the 6th. AFC Urgent Care held its first ever drive-through COVID-19 test clinic on its parking lot among high-risk patients on May the 21st. Now, this collaboration between Arlington's health leaders and urgent care comes after new guidelines set forth by the State Department of Public Health, which encourages close contacts with individuals who tested positive for COVID-19 to be tested themselves regardless of the symptoms. Well, tonight, we revisit urgent care to get an update.
Things have rapidly advanced for us in terms of testing, with now the governor saying that we can test close contacts. We've been getting a lot more phone calls. We are doing a lot of those through telemedicine visits, pre-screening. We're not really now pre-screening based on just exposure or travel from a certain hotspot area in the world. It's now more related to local contact, close contact with any family member that may have recently tested positive for the swab. So suddenly that has really peaked the number of folks that are calling us. And that's why we have started this initiative of a drive-through testing clinic through the town of Arlington. They reached out to us and we collaborated on doing a more mass scale testing for all the Arlington residents and neighboring communities. However, everyone needs to be pre-screened by our provider in Arlington via telemedicine. So that's very critical, because on the day of the testing, it'll be literally a drive-through, and we want to make sure that anyone who shows up to that clinic has already spoken to our provider, because we will have a pre-printed label that we will put on their car windshield, and we will have them drive through to get a quick swab for the PCR test.
And will this be the only test you have, or is this your first drive-through test? You aim to have more?
No, this is the first one we are doing.
Okay.
And depending on what the response is from the Arlington residents, we can host another one next week. So the town has told us to gauge the interest level, like how many folks actually end up responding to their press release, to our a news announcement that we have made on the Facebook page, Arlington resident page. So based on that, as we continue to pre-screen the few days prior to an event, we will announce a next date.
Gotcha. Okay. Dr. Jalisi, the town of Arlington did reach out to you, the health department,
Yeah.
Basically, what they want to do is test people who have been in close proximity to others who have tested positive. Now that we have more availability for testing, how does that change what you do as far as testing anyone for COVID-19?
So for us, it becomes obviously we have to do more tests. We require more tests. We require more PPE. We need the patients to come in, but I think that's a new direction that the state is taking right now, is trying to test more and more people, which is, I think, the way forward. I think we talked about it last time as well.
Right.
Universal screening is what we will have to eventually do. We weren't doing it. So I think this is the right step forward towards universal screening. It will also identify clusters where we may have asymptomatic carriers. We do know that the younger folks are more end up being more asymptomatic carriers, and they can pass it on to the older people. So I think it'll be good to do that. From a work perspective, obviously we've set up this whole process where the patient has to call in with a telephone visit or a video visit, just so that we can screen them, see what the risk factors are, what they've done, is there travel history, is there someone in the family who's been sick. So I think it helps us also understand what the volume is going to be, and then ultimately we're bringing them in for these clinics. As Mushmi said, we're doing a drive-through clinic, but besides that, we're doing testing every day in our centers, and we've created protocols to do that. Besides that, obviously, in the long run, we've also started antibody testing, and I just want to mention that here because there is no antibody test right now that is technically FDA approved. We do have an EUA, or evaluation emergency use authorization by the FDA. We work with the biggest lab that the state is working with. We don't do these in-house. We're just collecting them and sending them out. But that might be a way to figure out if someone may have been infected in the past, and if they have antibodies that may protect them. Now, again, when we say antibodies that may protect them, we still don't know with COVID-19 if antibodies are really going to give you lifelong immunity. Is it going to be a month? Is it going to be a week? Or it'll be no immunity? We don't know as yet. It is such a new virus that we learn something new every day.
And we thank the folks at Urgent Care for talking to us. They're extremely busy, obviously, at this time, as you can understand. Now, if you would like to get a COVID-19 test yourself, all you have to do is call the folks at Urgent Care at their number, 781-648-4572.
I'm Brenda Mahoney for ACMi News. Arlington Public Schools entering a new phase for remote learning after being out of school for over 2 months now, starting off with enrichment opportunities online to setting up Google Classrooms and video recorded lessons, as well as live meet and greets, now piloting live virtual lessons. Arlington Public Schools saying they need to know what works best for this year and for potentially next. After going from optional enrichment opportunities to a weekly grid with several subjects a day for elementary students and multiple Google Classrooms for older ones, the schools are ready to pilot live video lessons for some.
I fully support this idea that we do some piloting around the synchronous learning, probably mainly at the high school, because there's a lot that we need to learn from that.
During a May 14th school committee meeting, Superintendent Kathleen Bodie recognized that younger students need more help as they rely on parents, and a live lesson with sometimes up to 25 students could be tricky as well.
I thank all the parents who are supporting this work, and I know it's a challenge, because we've heard how challenging it is when you yourself are trying to work, and you have to support your child on accessing Google Classroom, accessing the videos, accessing the Hangout. It's a full-time job for you as well. One of the things we're learning too is, do we need in some of these kind of learning environments having two teachers there, or a teacher and a paraprofessional to manage it?
School committee members said many parents are overwhelmed by the amount of homeschool, and despite recent parent forums, wondered about the people who aren't speaking up.
Some families are just able to take the resources and the schedule and the structure that you're providing and do a lot more with it than other families. I wonder about the parents who aren't reaching out to you.
So we're still trying to calibrate the amount of assignments that we have that we're going to share or give out to students. And so we're going to still work on that. That is still something that we're trying to figure out. but we are taking in that feedback. We hear what parents are saying, and so we're trying to calibrate that.
School officials said they will also survey parents on the workload as they plan for this school year and next. Committee Chair Len Cardin being sure to point out the appreciation of the work schools are doing, but stressing students and parents want more help in the form of those live lessons.
Definitely appreciate the work the administration is doing, but we are here partly as a bridge between the community and the administration, and the community is saying we need to do a little bit more synchronous work.
And one more message coming from the school committee meeting and schools themselves, ending on the note of social emotional learning, taking care of yourself, and that families ultimately get to decide what they can and cannot do.
I think one of the lessons that goes out at the middle school level even talks about redefining reasonable goals during this moment in time, because your sense of self-efficacy is paramount to your mental health and well-being. So how do you recalibrate? What is a good quarantine goal? What is a good remote learning goal? We as adults could actually learn a huge lesson from that ourselves.
Well, school officials not ready to commit to what would happen to extended school year programming that usually takes place at Pierce, but saying it would likely be virtual, and certainly not ready to discuss next school year yet. But there is other school business news as well. The Pierce Elementary School principal Karen Hartley is retiring. She'll be replaced by Andrew Amati, who's coming from the Waltham district. And Kristen DeFrancisco is leaving the Gibbs School to go on to Groton Dunstable and become the assistant superintendent there. She joins the former assistant superintendent of Arlington, Laura Chesson. For ACMi News, I'm Brenda Mahoney.
The picture is getting a little brighter when it comes to healthcare workers getting the much needed personal protection equipment, or PPEs, so they can do their jobs in keeping us safe. And that's done in large part because of the generosity of many area volunteers. ACMi News correspondent Victoria Gonzalez met up with one woman whose expertise has gone from quilting to possibly saving lives.
A sewing machine and some stitches could help prevent the spread of COVID-19. Shelley Murphy is a quilter making reusable face masks for healthcare workers who lack protective equipment.
They're having to reuse the same mask, keep it for a full day or even a week, depending on who you're talking to. And so what they're doing is they're asking people to make these cloth masks from 100% cotton that they can put over that mask to extend the life of that mask.
After years of sewing, the Rhode Island resident was prepared to put her skills to good use and has sewn over 20 cotton masks for friends in her community.
I have a lot of extra material from old quilts, and quilters always keep what they call their stash because you never know when you're going to put it into a different quilt. And so I have lots of material around that I could just use it.
Okay, I like that.
Deborah Harrison is a registered home care hospice nurse who is experiencing the shortage of medical masks. She now feels grateful for the new ones that Murphy gave her.
So these masks are going to give me more flexibility in being able to have knowledge, knowing that they're clean and each and every time I need to wear them.
The CDC recommends people to wear cloth masks in public settings, even those who have not shown symptoms.
If we can keep it from spreading and actually flatten that curve, then I guess those of us who are wearing the masks will have done something worthwhile, and my taking the time to use my stash to make these masks, I guess I will have done something worthwhile as well.
Murphy said she found inspiration in a Facebook group called So Hope New England, where they make face masks and donate them to local hospitals. Reporting, I'm Victoria Gonzalez.
In Arlington, the love went viral as St. John's Coffeehouse hosted 18 musicians who played 2.5 hours of fantastic music. All this while nearly 70 donors rose to the occasion and contributed more than $3,000. It was all part of the Gimme Shelter Coffeehouse fundraiser, which was held on May the 16th. Now, this event was live streamed on the St. John's Coffeehouse Facebook page, and the money raised goes towards the fabulous work that Food Link does right here in Arlington. And some of that money also went to several musicians, many of whom have been affected greatly by this pandemic. Now, if you missed this fantastic event, here's a sample.
When the universe is ready, so am I. saw him touched by an elder's hand, guiding me to healing sand. I hear the whispers of wisdom in my ear.
This is our moment. I can see the time coming when we're out of this sheltering place. Will we see the sweet release? Hope we do when we're out of this place.
We swim in concrete rivers and dark corners of our minds. Any given moment, shine a light in there. You don't know what you'll find. So many theories piled high.
Hard times come again no more. The many days you have lingered around our cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more.
Sometimes in the cool of the evening, sometimes in the heat of the day, sometimes when you're feeling down and lonely. Listen, you can hear the Savior say,
after midday, in the garden, shrubs and moss and trees. After midday, in the garden, roses in the breeze. See the orchids, yellow whispers climbing to the sky. See the birches, soft and graceful souls of angel white.
There was so much great music. Everything was eclectic and there was so much enthusiasm. It was absolutely beautiful. Now, if you would like to contribute to this event, you still can. All you have to do is go to the St. John's Coffeehouse Facebook page. That's at facebook.com/St. John's Concerts. And just a few weeks ago, service station owner Abe Salhi wanted to make a very bold statement of hope during this COVID-19 pandemic. And he's known as being a big patron of the arts anyway, so he reached out to a local artist activist, some volunteers, and some town officials for a little help with his idea. And this is what happened. Salhi wanted a prominent banner to thank caregivers and essential workers for their courageous and generous service. He also hoped the banners would boost morale and encourage mask wearing to help lower that curve and protect our most vulnerable folks from contracting COVID-19. Local artist Johnny Lapham designed and painted the banners, and Amy McDonald from the Heritage Flag Company in Alston offered to sew them with materials donated from her flag and banner shop. Arlington Public Art curator Cecily Miller had the idea of hanging an additional colorful line of prayer flags to celebrate the collective effort to stay safe and take care of each other in this time. Artist Kimberly Harding gathered donated fabrics, created a design for the prayer flag masks, and coordinated a small team of local mask makers to sew them up in short order. Abe Salhi says he would love to thank everyone involved, and he especially wants to thank all local caregivers and essential workers for pulling together to keep us all safe. Indeed, Salhi has been working morning to night running this gas station by himself since the state of emergency began. For all that he does for the town of Arlington, Abe Salhi certainly is an essential worker, and we thank him very much for his efforts. All right, now it's time to turn it over to Ponderscope, from my living room to yours. Take it away.
Hello, ACMi viewers. Today, I have an exclusive interview with the artist, singer, songwriter, Eliora, also known as Ella Simring, from Arlington High School. And we are going to be talking about the latest release of her song, Plushy Irish Setter.
I don't know why this is difficult to get. You can't pretend like we've never even met. Though honestly, this movie was kinda better, and I couldn't care less about your plushy Irish setter.
Ella, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
How has this quarantine been? Have you been writing some more songs? What have you been up to?
Yeah, I've had a lot of time on my hands to work on music, so I've been producing and writing like crazy. I just finished a song and it's being released in a week from today. I'm just really diving deep into promoting my music career.
That's awesome. And I know that you actually chose to release, I remember you chose to release Plushy Irish Setter about, like, it was that same week when everything was starting to shut down. Was there a particular purpose with releasing it right then? What was your intention with doing that right there?
So I actually set up the release like 3 weeks in advance because you have to, when you're using a distributor, you have to give them your song and album art and everything like way in advance before you pick a release date. So I picked that at the beginning of March when everything was still like fine. But yeah, we've got another song in the works that's almost done. It's probably gonna be done by like Monday. So that's very exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm just trying to write and produce as fast as I can while still like putting actual heart and creativity into it.
Ella, that's all I really got for you today. Thank you so much for coming by, answering a few questions for the viewers. And everybody, if you haven't already, please go out. It's on pretty much all the platforms, Apple Music, Spotify, you name it. Please go listen to Plushy Irish Setter by Eliora. Ella, thank you so much again, and hope you're having a great day.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Thanks, guys. And if you want to see the latest stories we're doing for ACMi News, go to the ACMi webpage, acmi.tv, and click on Newscasts. If you want to get daily updates on what we're doing here at ACMi News, just go to the ACMi News Facebook page. And if you'd like to see what's going on in town, they're constantly updating that webpage, especially with Governor Charlie Baker's announcement that is slowly, in phases, opening up the state. All you have to do is go to the town website, arlingtonma.gov. That'll do it for this week's edition of ACMi News. Thanks as always for joining us, and we want to thank those people who talk to us so that you can get the very latest on what's going on during these very unusual times. Please stay safe if you can, take care of others, and oh yeah, I'm a big fan of Bob Dylan. Have a great week, everybody. Good night.
You can always check out our latest segments and newscasts on the web at acmi.tv/news. And don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ACMi News. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. You'll find us at youtube.com/ACMi News. If you have any news tips for us or wish to become a citizen journalist, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at news@acmi.tv or stop by ACMI Studio A at 85 Park Avenue.